Welcome back, folks. Sports Federation TV, and of course we look after the sports federations in the Western Cape. But tonight we're privileged enough to have the president of SASCOC, Mr. Gideon Sam, on the show with us. Mr. Sam, welcome to Sports Federation TV.
What a pleasure to be here this evening. I've heard about this television station, but I've never had the privilege of popping into your studios and talking to you. So it's a real pleasure for me to be here. And good evening to your viewers.
You came through from Somerset West. You've got a history in Somerset West.
Yeah, well, that's where I went to school, Gordon High, you know. So all those Gordon High school mates of mine who's out there watching me. Hi, guys, and hi, girls. At least, you know, I made it, you know.
Yeah.
You may have looked at me at those days and said that lousy guy is not going to make it. But I've made it. So greetings to you all. Now, the history is after finishing off at Ubaird Primary School in the Strand, we then graduated into Gordon High.
Yeah.
I finished off there and went into our own ways. And I still bump into one or two of the guys, the class of, I'm going to give my age away.
Okay,
class of 65.
You and I drove through last night. We drove to the Cape Winelands Sports Awards. Before we talk about the Cape Winelands, just driving through there, you were looking at all the sports fields and the clubs. And it wasn't so long ago that you joined us here at Wraithby, one of the local community clubs. You obviously enjoy getting out to actually onto ground level where it's happening.
Well, you'll never understand South African sport if you don't do that. You have to go out there and get the sense of what are people talking about, how do they do things, and what's the infrastructure like. Because when you talk to the officials at either provincial level or national level, you must be able to say that, you know, I was in Oudtshoorn and I think that stinks. You guys say you're doing this and you're doing this, but we don't see anything on the ground. But you can also go back to them and say, guys, fantastic club development I saw in Caledon or something like that. Yeah. So for me, it's critical. Go to the other side of Vembe in Limpopo, you know, in the red sand. And you say to yourself, hey, guys, I was there. And when I left there, my hair was red. So which means that, you know, then they can see that we do go around and look at what is happening. Kimberley, and you say, but you got money from the lotto. Why is this AstroTurf not finished? Then you get to understand that they're fighting amongst themselves as to where this AstroTurf must be constructed. You know, and you can only do that if you go out there and you see this thing. You get a sense of it's happening or it is not happening.
But I struggle to understand Gideon Sam, the president of SASCOC. And incidentally, congratulations on your re-election, because maybe many folks just know Gideon Sam as the president. But of course, the General Assembly had to decide this year whether or not they wanted Gideon Sam back in the leadership. And so, yeah, from a Confederation or Sports Federation TV perspective, congratulations on your re-election.
Thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
But now, how does Gideon Sam find the time to do that? You run the SASCOC, which is of course the national structures, and you find the time to go down to ground level and actually talk about these things, like you mentioned, the AstroTurf or the facilities. How do you find the time to do this?
Look, I've been involved in sport for all my life, you know, from high school here, all the time into the Eastern Cape, SACOS here, NSC, the start of the NSC. We're all involved, our commission, then on to Commonwealth Games, South African Commonwealth Games Federation, and then until we got together as SASCOC. But in terms of the time, then, you know, people must just understand I'm not a full-time official.
Yeah.
You know, but because I'm semi-retired and I don't have to do a 9 to 5, I do have time for sport.
Yeah. And
when I'm in a particular area, because when I was doing my own business, which was small business development, doing small loans to small businesses and also doing education to small businesses and consulting on some issues of sport, you know, I could see what was going on. So there comes a time in one's life where you say to yourself, look, this chase for money, how far do I go chasing it?
Yeah, leave
what
it
is
alone.
enough?
Do sport.
What is enough? So I can spend a lot of time with federations, with sports confederation, with individuals, everybody giving me a proposal and saying, have a look at this. And then I said, it looks good. Then I said, but come here to Butterworth. But he will say, come to Butterworth. He will not say that, I will give you the petrol money to get here. But for the love of it, I just get into my car or my bakkie, and I drive to the place where he believes or she believes something must happen.
So last night we went to the Cape Winelands. We had Lorenzo Aronson, the chairperson. We drove through to Worcester, which is quite a trek. I mean, it was a 2-hour drive again. It seems like you spent a lot of time in the car in Cape Town this week. A 2-hour drive through to Worcester. Cape Winelands, the awards itself. I'm not going to preempt your answer here. What was your opinion last night?
Look, it's unbelievable. You see, and I think this is what those leaders sitting out there and watching us now must understand. You know, when you lead. Because, you know, Mr. Aronson, is it Aronson or Aronson?
Aronson, yes, Lorenzo.
Mr. Lorenzo. You know, watch the man working. It's a function that he must make sure it carries his stamp of approval and Cape Wineland's stamp of approval. And the way he looks after it, make sure that the MC is on track, make sure the awards are given out correctly. And that is what you want. You want to make sure that there is a leader in place who takes it upon himself or herself to make things happen. And when I looked at all the awardees and listening to their CVs, what have they done to be an awardee, you can see that, you know, the people in karate, the people in judo, the people in sport for people with disabilities, you know, all those kind of things, you can see that work has been done. And I can say, without worrying about who says what, it was a fantastic evening.
I still want to stay on the Cape Winelands. The importance, one of the things we saw last night was the importance of partnerships.
Yeah.
It was the Sports Confederation, but they were working together with government and with municipality. That must be important in any...
It is. But you see, that the foundation for that was laid at the SASCOC conference that we had in Bloemfontein.
Yes.
Because there we were able to interact with the municipalities and district municipalities and the metros to say to them, we need to be partners in this whole thing. We need to look together as to what it is that we need to do for service delivery for our people in terms of sport. Because we must understand that we can't be all over the place. Our sector is sport, and we must deliver on sport. Yeah. When they say we are playing sport, we must be proud to say that we made a contribution as sports administrators. So that partnership, not this tug of war between what the municipality wants to run the show, or this one is saying that, but you are not listening to me. We need to find a way where we sit around the table. And I've always asked the federations and the clubs, have you been to this where they have the IDP workshops? The municipalities called workshops where they say, we've got so much money. How are we going to cut it up? Have you been to some of those meetings so that you make your input? And you can only do that if you listen to what they say. Because the thing is that we also need to be careful not to think that people must just listen to us.
Yeah.
We must also listen to them because they don't have pots and pots of money that, that we think they have. Because sometimes we need to say to ourselves, how much money is in the pot?
So for the district federations and the federation out there, the advice that you're giving right now, is it essentially that they must engage with municipalities?
They have to.
And government. You've got to get out of your office. And
I mean, if you think about it at the national level, if we were not talking to the minister and to our DG, Alec Moemi, how on earth would we be running SASCOC? Yeah. We are running SASCOC. We're getting money from the department. We're getting money from the Olympic movement. We're getting money from the lotto. But they still remain the greatest partner for us in sport. So that must go down to the provinces. Here at provincial level, you need to find the people that you can talk to at DCAS and say to yourself, what are we talking about? How are we planning? If they're planning without you, it's either you don't want to sit with them and plan. Then it's a disaster, because what it means that our people are not going to get those resources that are locked in those municipalities and those districts. And yesterday it was fantastic to see the doctor there who's in the
Dr. Lyndon Bower
there who's in the department,
yeah.
and to see the district leader and all the district municipality leader and the municipality from Stellenbosch, from
the mayor and everybody was there.
So that to me is the perfect recipe that we need to develop.
Yeah.
It is not 100% there yet, but it's a way forward.
All right, let's talk a little bit about SASCOC. I mean, from a SASCOC perspective, you're split into two directions. I always think of it as you've got an Olympic structure and then you've got a confederation structure. It's sort of in your name. But it was interesting listening to you last night talk about, I mean, you spoke over the last few years that you were going to deliver, I think, 10 medals at the Olympics. I don't know why you're the one delivering the medals, as if you're the one that must go out and win the medal yourself. But this is the statements. These are the statements that you made in the media. That you're driving the thing to get us 10 medals. What was interesting last night, and I think that quite often things get taken out of context in the media and so forth. What was interesting last night is that, and we don't know yet what your next target is, but it will be interesting to see. But it's impossible for you to go and get those medals. You obviously have to rely on the federations. What you said last night was that you present the team. You don't create the Olympic team. You present it, but it's up to the federations, the athletes, to become good enough to go and win those medals.
Definitely. You know, and the reason why I need to say this over and over again, we don't own athletes. Remember, this is an overarching structure of 74, 75 federations.
Yeah.
And it's pigeon racing, it's dog kenneling from rugby, all of them sit there. It's not us who own those athletes. And many a times, you know, I bump into a parent saying that, Mr. Sam, you're not doing enough for my child. I said, but your child is supposed to be in a club. Club development starts right there. Is your child in a club? Yeah. Because once you're there, you're now going to play in the district, and you'll go to the provincial. And once you're in a provincial, you come to nationals. And if you're in the top in the nationals, and we can see there's a top athlete. I mean, here's a perfect example. Before the Junior Olympics, Junior Olympics in Nanjing, I didn't know there is a 400 hurdler from this part of the world. It's only when I got to Nanjing and I say, hey, but look at that child, that's a South African, look at her running. So only then do we begin to take interest and say, I need to talk to the parents so that one goes into OPEX. Only at that point do we begin to take an interest, and still not to own, but just to say that here's a program, we put money into this program, and we can help you with your coaching, but we can help you with your medical and so on.
But everything that you're talking about obviously makes sense to me because I understand this, but I get the feeling that the majority of the public, they don't really know what we do. They don't really know what SASCOC does. They don't know the difference between SASCOC and a confederation and a council. They only know a federation, such as South African hockey or Western Province hockey or football. They don't. Nobody knows that there is an administrative structure that is supposed to administer and promote this process. Is this not one of our drawbacks, something that counts against us? Because I'm constantly reading something in the newspaper and I think to myself, or on social media, and I think, but the facts are wrong. These are stories being made up of people who do not know what happens behind the scenes. Surely this is something we need to be focusing on, is creating more awareness around the good stuff that the sports administrators are doing.
But exactly why we want to move into the direction of saying that, how close are we to the provincial sports confederations? And one of the things that we intend doing now, which will lead up to our own consultative conference for sports confederations in the provinces, is to go to the province, spend 2 days there, meet the leaders. Because you see, the thing is this, it can't be a Gideon Sam who carries the knowledge about, but what is South African sport and how should it be? Everybody talking there must be able to stand. I'm sometimes so surprised when I see something in the newspaper and not a single sports federation makes an effort to say that, no. Can I go to social media and correct this? Nowhere do you pick that up and you ask yourself, do they really understand? Maybe it's a shortcoming of SASCOC itself. In as much as we've got our magazine and we've got our website, you ask yourself, how many people actually go to that website and read it? Have they ever seen the posts that we advertise? Have they ever seen when we remind them that the lotto is calling for application? Do they read that?
But do you know that I've got a new hashtag in Twitter? It's called negativity must fall. Hashtag negativity must fall. Do we not have a tendency in South Africa to be negative first before we're positive? We always say no before we say yes.
Oh yeah, well, that's true. Because, I mean, just a couple of losses for the Springbok team, and look, we now want to throw them into the deeper sea so that we don't see them again. We can't be like that. Because you see, I think I was talking to you and I said that you watch UK football.
Yeah.
Those stadia are full, even if the team is right rock bottom.
Yeah.
But the supporters are there. Why? Because it is a culture thing of I'm supporting my team come hell or what. And this is not what we have here. Here it's a question of one loss, throw them into the dump.
But isn't it so much more important that in South Africa we're doing that than any other country? Because we're a new country. We're a country with a lot more challenges, that we have to support this nation before anything else, even more than any other country out in the world. Because like I say, we're a very young country, and if we're not supporting the nation, we're really going to struggle to transform.
We'll probably never transform, because, you know, I've come across a situation where you really get people now saying that we're going to do it ourselves, never mind these other guys. And that's dangerous, because now you're pushing this entire country back to where they say to themselves, okay, is that their attitude? Fine. Let's take them on with that attitude. And I think our people, especially in sport, we must be very careful. When people say that we're sick and tired of this transformation, just analyze what is transformation that we're talking about. What do we want to see? Nowhere in the world do you sit with a nation of 55 million people and only about 10% of those people contribute to the national teams.
But there's sorry.
You can't have that.
But
so you need to ask yourself, what happened to the other 45 million? You have to say to yourself, we have to work with people to bring them up to the level so that we are 50. You can go into a pool of 55 million, not 10%.
But why are we in this constant situation that when we look at transformation, we're only looking at one dimension, and not one journalist ever mentions the transformation charter, that there is actually a transformation charter. There's a program, there's a plan in place that federations should be complying with. It's actually quite simple. There's a scorecard. It's not a one-dimensional thing to fix. Transformation can be anything. There's a big picture, and there seems to be this lack of knowledge of how sport operates in South Africa, from government to SASCOC to the commissions and the charters. Anyway, I suppose
but let's just look at that, because it's quite true. When the minister speaks and says that you have not complied, on what is he basing that? He's basing on what the federation said.
Yes.
And you see, that never comes out clear in the media. The federation sat in front of the minister. Cricket said that our under-19 will look like this in the next 2 years. And they deliver on that. Or they go to netball, and netball says, you know, when you look at our team, it will be 50% or whatever. This is us in netball. No, not the minister, not SASCOC, the federation. But that never comes out. So when it's put on the table and you are reminded that, you know, remember a year ago you said your administrators, there will be so many women administrators. You are short by 20%. What happened? Now the minister says,
so
I need to put in punitive measures. And then the whole country cries and says, he's killing sport. No, but he didn't say it. The federation itself said it. We are now in the new phase. We're taking on another 4.
Yeah.
It's table tennis and whatever and so on. So they are sitting there, and I've got a pile like this coming from sport and recreation, say, please check this. This is what we are going to ask for, the dimensions that you're looking for. It's multidimensional.
Yeah.
What does it say about?
It's not just. It's not just one thing.
No, it's not
just what you see on TV.
The field.
Yeah.
No. It says how many people are you.
So when we're talking about transformation, you're talking about things like corporate governance
and
constitutions and marketing and life skills and HIV score.
So we must ask ourselves, who's going to do that? Because that's why I'm saying that maybe even in the sports movement as we speak, we do very little about that.
Yeah.
We need to say to yourself, the president of Cape Town Sports Confederation or Sports Council or whatever, he must know what we're talking about. He must go and understand what does that EPG stands for,
Yes.
Eminent Persons Group, and explain in simple pamphlets.
Yeah.
You know, those sitting out there and viewing us now, they will remember you had to go to a SASCOC meeting with a scribbler. Because every day somebody would stand up there and say, when you're the chairman, you do this, and you must write down. You do this. So when you go back home, you've got your scribbler, and in your scribbler, you've made notes. Where? At a meeting, just an ordinary meeting. You don't have to have a workshop that is so expensive. In your scribbler. You know, Mr. Hendricks was in athletics, a father to Professor Denver Hendricks. He was so strict on those kind of things. Educating, and educating. We are falling short when it comes to that now.
Final question. You've got 4 years to go before 2020. It's in Tokyo. You've just come out of the election. You are our leader for the next 4 years. You must be very excited about the opportunities going forward.
Oh, lots of opportunities. And I think one of the things that for me will be a standout thing is to see young leaders coming through now. People who can come into the sports movement and really drive it. And you don't have to sit at national level. You just need, I mean, I saw your deputy, the lady who is your deputy, what is her name?
Shela Lakalakala.
Lakalakala, you know, fantastic, brilliant, you know, but she must come to council meetings.
Yeah.
So that she can see what are we talking about at that level. I get the sense.
There's, of course, I must say that before I get into political trouble here, that we do have another vice president, Mr. David Mant. So we have two vice presidents.
All of them. Okay. But you see, here we are promoting women.
Yeah.
She's a women vice president, so
yes.
we need to give her an opportunity also. So what I'm saying is that at some point we need to say to ourselves, guys, is this it? Is this a total pool of leadership that we've got in this country? And at which level are they? Are they at level of club, at school level, at varsity level, and so on? Because once we are on top of that, we are able to say that this is how we promote and encourage people to go up and up. And that to me is going to be one of the most important things. That together with high performance. Remember this, you're judged in this country on how you perform. So you might as well have all the structures on the ground, but if you go to the Commonwealth Games of 2018 at the Gold Coast in Australia, and you come back with far more less medals that you had in Scotland, look, they are going to skin you alive. So if you go to Tokyo and you come back with less than 10 medals, they are going to skin you alive. So you better make sure that all the time you focus also on high performance, because that, dear viewers, is our main mandate. High performance sport. So when people say that, yeah, but Mr. Sam, school sport is dead. No, go to education and ask them why it's dead. Because our mandate is high performance. In that, it is presenting the team.
All right, so can we get that Gideon Sam is not going to give 10 medals? The federations are going to give us more medals?
Federations. We will encourage them. We will support them. That's why we are in the process of reviewing our MOU with the South African.
Because unless you're going to start running the 100 meters yourself or throw the javelin yourself,
that's not me.
You're not going to do that.
It's not, neither it's you know, at provincial level. Because that's not us.
Yeah.
We are trying to encourage that up-and-coming athlete, the athlete who's well-ranked, you know, Richard Murray, who is well on the circuit, and we ask ourselves, how can we help triathlon for Richard Murray to become better? How do I help Luvo? And everybody knows the story of Luvo. Came here, picked him up from Mbekweni and said, you're wasting your energy, you're wasting your talent, let's go to Turkeys, and here we go, a medal. But that was not my work. That's the work of the Western Cape Sports Athletics Team, Confederation, or the national day, or whatever, it's Winelands Athletics. They should have done that to pick them up and say, what do we do? We can't waste talent.
All right, Mr. Gideon Sam, thanks for joining us here on we can obviously talk for hours more.
Lots to talk about.
I think in the future we'll still keep talking. I think the importance of sharing factual information, talking about what SASCOC does, what Confederation does, how sport actually works in South Africa, will go a long way towards re-establishing the trust of the people out there in the sports movement. I want to say thanks to you, and we look forward to your next 4 years, and we look forward to getting through to Tokyo, and we look forward to seeing what the development will be like in sport in South Africa in the next 4 years. And good luck, and thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure. We'll be back, because when we finish our workshop in the Western Cape, we should actually have a studio interview with quite a number of leaders and say, so what did you learn out of this exercise? And what do you think you are going to do? Tell the viewers what you think you're going to do in the Western Cape in terms of promoting sport. Thank you very much for having me.
I love the idea. It's been a pleasure, and that's exactly what Sports Federation TV is here for. So we will be bringing you and those leaders onto the show. We look forward to that.
It will be a pleasure.
Right, folks, what an absolute pleasure to have the president of SASCOC himself here on Sports Federation TV. We will leave it at that. We trust that you will have yourself a fantastic sporting weekend. We'll see you again next week. Same time, same place. Bye-bye.